Yes, everybody, what's going on? My name is Stephen Howson, and this is tactical preview of Bournemouth, which I think is how it's pronounced, against Manchester United. I hope everyone's doing all right. United sit 3-3. We are going for 4 out of 4. Feels all right a little bit at the moment, doesn't it? Like, fancy us being all good and shit. So I need to address the title before everyone absolutely loses their mind. Are United entering the post-Pogba era? What we've seen initially under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, that winning period that we saw heavily focused upon the final ball that Paul Pogba was able to deliver, focused heavily on giving Paul Pogba, 100 penalties to take with 100 step run-ups. I think Paul Pogba's absolutely belting. He's easily our best outfield player. I don't know if Paul Pogba is choosing to remain injured, if he's choosing to deselect himself, if he's mentally checked out because he doesn't want to be here. You can argue about that. You can say he's injured. You can say he's not injured. I'd rather look at what's factual that we know. Now, here's what the crack is. Paul Pogba come out and said he wanted a new challenge. Paul Pogba fluttered his eyelids, and he said lashes and just totally fucked it up then. He fluttered his eyes at Real Madrid heavily early in the summer and over the summer. Then he shut his mouth. Don't know if he was told he isn't getting it. Don't know if he's told stay one more season and you can bounce next year. I don't know what the situation was. I know Paul Pogba very clearly wants out of Manchester United. Why do I know this? I know this because look at the people closest to him. His brothers, and Mino Raiola, who works for him. They are saying in no uncertain terms, they're not suggesting it, they're saying, yeah, he wants out. He would like to move somewhere else. He would like to play somewhere else. So, Paul Pogba, Manchester United's best player, outfield player. Probably best player, full stop, actually. Definitely doesn't want to be here. Are Manchester United, one, potentially better without our best player? I know that sounds counterintuitive. Or would we be better keeping a player here against his will? I don't have the confidence in this board and this management that we would get 100% of the funds if we sold him. So I understand everybody goes, sell him and we'll buy XYZ. Okay, I understand that. If you sell him, there's no guarantee that you even invest one penny of that. We sold Cristiano Ronaldo when he was the best player in the world, literally the Ballon d'Or holder. And we invested it in, Michael Owen on a free, Obertan and Valencia. Now, I don't want that to sound like a diss on Valencia, but Valencia was not Ballon d'Or winning Ronaldo. Ian says our best player is overrated. Still our best player. So what does that tell you? Paul Pogba has been, I'm not going to say a headache, but there's been a circus around Paul Pogba since the day he signed. And people will go, Fergie was right. He did the right thing to get rid of him. Okay. It's a valid point. We may have been better choosing somebody else to bring in. Maybe. He's an absolute enigma, and he's an argument, and he's a confusion, and he's an issue. Because you can't have that talent and that value not playing. But you can't pander to someone who very evidently does not want to be here. So I see the issue with Paul Pogba being a massive decision that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and the board have to get right. Because if they get this wrong, if they sell him and don't replace, we are not a better team. If we keep him and he doesn't want to be here, and if he is over-egging his injuries, I'm not going to say he's plain and simple not injured, but there's periods in people's career where they play injured. Marcus Rashford played injured for most of the back end of last season. Players can choose to play injured, or they can go, no, I don't feel right. And what can you say? So Alex came out and said it about Louis Saha. He said he's fit, but in his head he's not. So he's never available for selection. And there's different reasons for that sometimes. There's different reasons why players would go and do that. Some of them because they want to leave. Some of them because they lack confidence. Some of them for just plain other reasons. When Mourinho called Pogba a virus, I was hearing from those inside the dressing room it wasn't the case and that he was actually trying to unite the squad. Him and Jose had a massive fallout, so they was never going to see eye to eye. But Pogba was trying to rally the team to play for themselves. And fuck this guy was the word he was using, but play for yourselves and play for Manchester United. And I thought that was a message you can get behind. Yeah, okay, you don't like the manager. You got a couple of options. Spit your dummy out. Refuse to play because you don't like the guy in charge. Or you go, nah, I'm employed by this team. I play for these supporters and I play for this badge. And I thought that was I'm not going to say noble, it's a bit giddy, but I thought that was the right attitude to have from Paul Pogba. Very clearly that United was trying to appease Pogba last season by giving him penalty after penalty, free kick responsibility, captain's armband. We did everything apart from suck his dick in a centre circle. So, what does Paul Pogba want? Wants to play in a winning team. Sound. I get that. Bit arrogant, but I get that. You want to play in a winning team. Make this team win. This team is literally better when you're in it. If I knew that we would definitely get the investment and be able to replace him, I would sell him. I don't have the confidence in this board to say that. So, judging on United's performances of late, as the mentality switched because we was waiting for Paul Pogba to return, and have the players finally gone, he ain't coming back, is he? Or he's certainly not going to come back the way we all hoped he would come back. So have the players mentally moved on? Have the management mentally moved on? Are they preparing for the post-Paul Pogba Manchester United? And if we are, do you know what? Maybe we would be a better football team because of that. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Let's have a look then at the crack for this weekend. Everything that we've got coming up. Team news-wise, Rashford, Lindelof and Maguire are doubts according to the manager. He said it is still early, but hopefully we can get them back on the pitch tomorrow. They had some treatment yesterday, a little more today, light session, and hopefully they're ready. I can't tell you exactly now. Mentions Matic, Chuanzebe and Shaw. They are not ready for tomorrow, probably after the international break, if you push them back too early. But if we have the extra 2 weeks after the international break, they should be all ready for them. Don't even know what's up with Chuanzebe. Just broke down in the Liverpool game and hasn't been seen since. I wish the press would ask, like, what's actually up with him, mate? Current form, United have got 3 wins in 8 days after going on a massive drought, especially from away games, going all the way back to PSG away. Fantastic. Rashford has got 5 goals in his last 3 starts. Tony Marshall, 2 goals in his last 2 starts. Things are starting to look rosy again. We're creating chances. We're scoring goals. We're scoring goals we don't deserve to. We are being clinical. First time United have scored more than 1 in back-to-back games since March 2018, Southampton and Paris Saint-Germain. Ollie did mention Rashford's form when he was talking. Since Anthony's come back, Marcus has blossomed. He's been happier facing goal, being direct and driving at people, taking players on rather than being the target man with his back to goal. Definitely agree that is the way that he should be playing. On a confidence, he said the confidence is getting better. Players coming back from injury helps, all put together. In football, it's not very far from failure to success or the other way around. He's absolutely right on that one. So Bournemouth then, they are 9th. Not absolutely riding high like us in 7th. Booyah. But they are level on points. Usually play a 4-4-2. They like to sit the deep line playmakers, 2 6s sort of sit off. The 2 forwards are not traditional forwards. You could painting it more like a 4-5-1 than 4-4-2. Solanke certainly gets in between the lines. Callum Wilson, definitely the primary goal threat. 5 goals in 10 appearances in the league this season. Takes only 1.4 shots per game, which is low considering that you expect Bournemouth to be a ball-playing team that creates chances, but even Rashford's having 2.3 shots per game. Obviously 0.5 goals per game, 5 from 10, but that's the same as Marcus Rashford. Eddie Howe's been talking. He says United have been playing very well recently. They have quality players and a manager that's given them real stability. We have to show more than our last home game and get the supporters on our side for this one. I think I would agree with that. Key player for me this weekend is going to be someone who I've given stick to, and I'll certainly hold my hands up and say, do you know what, he's proving me and many others wrong, and that is Scott McTominay at the moment. Started every single game this season, showing real leadership, composure. I've been critical of him keeping it simple. I've not said he's shit, because he's not shit, but I thought he was basic. I thought he was keeping it a bit simple, and I would like to see more of him progressing the ball through the lines. If he can add that to his game, we've got a real player on our hands here. 5 tackles and 5 interceptions against Chelsea. He's fouled 2.6 times per game. That's in the top 5 in the league. Wins 7.8 duels per game, which is 2.5 more than Fabinho wins. 87% passing accuracy in his own half. Scott McTominay, probably, if you were taking bets now on who's going to be player of the season for United, Scott McTominay. Absolutely killing it at the moment. Beautiful to see. Hope he continues, and be very interesting to see what he does with some genuine quality around him in midfield. Starting 11 wise that I want to see this week, a couple of players that have maybe moved in. With doubts over Lindelof, I've gone for Rojo at centre half alongside Maguire. Wan-Bissaka, he is our right back. If he's fit, that guy plays. Simple as that. Brandon Williams at left back. I've been telling you, he's the best left back in the club. I think some of you are starting to believe me now. Fred, who I thought's probably had his best 2 games back-to-back recently for United. He starts alongside McTominay. Pereira, still question his decision-making. He's an absolute maniac, but I do question his decision-making a little bit. But he looks good, he's energetic, and he's aggressive. Marcus on the left is definitely his best position. James on the right. I'd like to see someone else come in and challenge him for that space and use the pace and the intensity that James brings off the bench. I think that would be the absolute best utilisation of him, but we don't have that person at the moment. So off the bench won't be happening, and starting will be Tony Marshall up front leading the line. He looks happier, but I'm not convinced he's still going to be here come the end of the summer. I could see us moving him on potentially and bringing somebody else in his place. Possibly. I'm not hoping that's the case. I just think that's possibly the case. That is my starting 11. Let us know your score predictions and that in the comments below. I think United can go and get a couple of goals here. I do think it'll need to be a couple of goals because I'm not sure just 1-0s are good for us, but we have scored a few goals out there recently. I think if we're able to stick this 11 in, I'll be pretty happy with that. And as you can see below there, next games that we've got coming up, if we're able to extend this to a 4 out of 4, 5 out of 5, and 6 out of 6, if we can put away Bournemouth, Partizan and Brighton, well, I'll be very prepared to start saying we've turned the corner, and I think that we're going to rack up some good points, and I think we might even finish in a position that surprises a few people. I'm going to come to the Patreon group in a second and see what questions you guys have got. But if you've got a decent question, don't just throw me a one-word thing with a question mark. Give me some depth to your question. Get your questions in the comments. But I'm going to come to the Patreon group and see if you guys have got any questions. Let's have a look. What if he's mint and is he mint? Going back to the early Ole Gunnar Solskjaer stuff, he was mint then. He had a bit of a blip in the middle. Bournemouth haven't scored in 3 games. How important could it be to get an early goal to dip Bournemouth confidence, and then can we just defend and hit them on the counter? Yeah, I think we can. I actually think that we're going to set up very much like we do against the big team, allow Bournemouth to have the ball and get in behind them. That's exactly what I do see happening in this game. How big trouble are we in if Rashford, Lindelof and Maguire are injured tomorrow? If it's Rashford, Lindelof and Maguire, yes, we're in the trouble. I don't think it'll be all of them. And I think we can probably cope with Lindelof or Maguire being out. I don't think it's terrible. If we had to go with Rojo and Jones, some people are terrified of that, but I don't think it'd be the worst thing in the world. They can actually play football. They can knock it around. They're not on the level of Maguire or Lindelof, but centre-half is where we could deal with injuries the greatest. If Axel was back, which Solskjaer's already ruled him out, I would be even more confident at losing 2 centre-halves. But like I said, centre-half is where we've got our depth at the moment. I'm pretty happy with that one. Rashford... Greenwood should be fit, and with James and Marshall being in the team, I think you could probably ride out missing Rashford this weekend if that was the case. And if he is injured, he's played through so many injuries recently, maybe it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to let him have a break. Gord says, how do we set up if both our main centre-backs and Axel are out? There you go. Rojo and Jones, it probably should be. Or was Jones one that he mentioned earlier, actually? Was it in the notes? No, he didn't mention Jones. If Jones is fit, Jones and Rojo's not shocking. You've also got the option that maybe that's why Ethan Laird's been getting drafted into the team. It wouldn't be Ethan Laird, it'd clearly be Ashley Young. But you could throw Ashley Young at right back and move Wan-Bissaka to centre-half if need be. You possibly, going back to a back three with hardly any centre-halves is mental, but you probably could. I think we've got options because we're so deep at centre half. I think it's not the craziest issue. Ronan, what do I think about Angel playing in this? I think he could slot perfectly in the lineup for the game. It's going to be an open game, and he should be the creative outlet for Scott and Fred. You're probably right, but as you guys know, if you're not, go and have a look in case you missed it. There's probably reasons why Angel won't feature. Bradders, could Callum Wilson or Josh King be viable options we should be looking at? Yeah, Wilson would be someone that could do that different kind of thing. And Josh King's just a decent player, to be honest. I'd probably take either of them as if they came knowing their backup, because they should be. I think you could do a lot worse than either of those two guys. The problem is going to try and buy anyone from an English club at the moment, because every English club is absolutely minted, so you get your arse slapped. There's no bargains in England, unless it's a free transfer. Previn, if Brandon Williams settles into the first team, is there any room for Laird to get his chance with the likes of Wan-Bissaka, Williams, Shaw and Delot, all relatively young? I don't think Delot will be here very long. And Ethan Laird is better than Delot. He's better than him defensively by a mile, and he might be better than him going forward. Delot's got a hell of a cross on him, but there's more than just crossing to a fullback, Liverpool fans. There's a lot more that you have to do as a fullback, and for me, Laird is potentially top draw. So I would love to see Laird get his opportunity soon. The fact he's been travelling with the team and that sort of stuff gives me the confidence that that's going to happen. And with Pogba looking likely to leave, who do I build this team around? I would be very tempted to go, I mentioned this on Full Time Devils earlier, I wouldn't mind a midfield three of McTominay if he continues this trajectory, Neves and Milinkovic-Savic. I mentioned in that video I did a couple of weeks ago, Doucouré and Ericsson. That could also possibly work. If not, can we look at maybe stem cell therapy and regenerate Brian Robson, get another couple of years out of Brian Robson? That'd probably do well as well. Roy Keane, if he's not up to much, that'd be all right, wouldn't it? Or even Carrick. Lewis, Pogba is clearly our best midfielder and he plays when he is fit, but do we risk disrupting the system we've used for the last few games? When he's back, maybe he's the best outlet in terms of chance creation, but Ole has been focusing a lot more on high-intensity press with Fred Pogba. Pogba will mostly take Fred's place when he's back, and all of a sudden our pressing intensity disappears as Pogba can be quite lazy off the ball. Also, what's impressed you the most about this new McTominay we're seeing gone from basic to brilliant? It's his decision-making and the leadership. It's his decision making. His decision making is very astute. It's very rarely, if ever, do I see him do the sort of thing which makes me pull my hair out like it does with Ashley Young, supposedly an experienced player, just does mindless shit. The reason he's got such a high pass completion is because he doesn't rush. He looks around, he's getting his head up, he's covering ground, and he's actually being a genuine leader. If people ended up seeing him as a captain in a few years, I don't think people would be shocked or upset about it. He'd have earned it if he continues this trajectory. My issue with him wasn't one of he was doing the wrong thing or he was taking up the space of somebody else. It was like He's doing basic things and his decision making is good. And if you remember back when we managed to get to training at the Wacker during pre-season, I said there was 3 players that impressed me the most in training: Angel Gomez, Lingard, and Scott McTominay. Scott was phenomenal in training. He was genuinely phenomenal in training. To the point where I thought it was worth talking about. Of course, Pogba was great. It would only be noteworthy if Pogba wasn't great. But McTominay, I was like, shit. Like, he looked great in training. Noteworthy, great. Not just look good. They all look good. Probably pick any of them for our 5-a-side team, you know what I'm saying? Well, most of them, you know what I mean? There's a couple that maybe wouldn't get in. But, of course he's fucking a good footballer, but he's shown a lot, and he's shown a lot this season. So fair play to him. Maybe Mourinho saw some sort of character in him, because obviously he doesn't really like the young players. But he definitely had a thing for McTominay. Who knows? Pogba played through injury against Arsenal. Do I think he aggregated to the point where he ruined it and he needs time to let it heal? But it's changed in what it was. Initially it was an ankle, then it was a toe, now it's an ankle again. I don't know what's going on with Pogba, and I wish I did know. But I think that there may be a chance that we are seeing the preparation for a post-Pogba United, possibly. Jacob, Pogba is technically great, but this is football, not cage fighting or beach football. There definitely has to be a better decision-making. Nicholas, as Angel is one of the older academy players, when is he going to get his proper chance in the United shirt? Because ability-wise, he's one of the best academy graduates. There's some news on, and it could go either way, to be honest, in terms of Angel in the Patreon group. So, as a little bit of a heads up for you, you've probably heard me mention it quite a bit recently. We've revamped a lot of the stuff that's going on in the Patreon group. So this channel is supported by Patreon. What is Patreon? Well, Patreon is a platform where you guys get to choose if you wanted to support the channel financially. The cost of Patreon is $5 a month, which is £4 if you're in England. It's available in virtually every country apart from one guy said he was in Iran and he wasn't able to use it. So it's everywhere but Iran so far, and possibly China. The cost is £4 if you're in the UK. It's basically the cost of 1 pint for all of the content that you get that's on the channel. But for that, you get extra content. So you don't lose content from YouTube, you get extra content. We also have 5-a-side things, or 7-a-side. We had one last Friday where we played a load of the patrons. It was a right good laugh. We got fucking soaked. We won. Unlucky. They're going to be a regular thing every other month. We're doing those. We're looking at having a United legend at Hotel Football come and do a live podcast with us. Now, that won't go out on YouTube. That will only go out to those on Patreon. And again, that's a thanks for the support that we get for the channel and the help that we get for running the channel and paying the staff and everything that we do here and the quality of content that we provide to you guys. Long term, I would like to go completely advert-free on YouTube. And the way I can see myself doing that is by doing it by the Patreon group. And there's tiers and levels on there that if we hit the targets, we introduce extra treats and extra stuff. We're looking at this live podcast will be the opportunity for anyone who lives local enough to Manchester to come and get to that. Be free entry because you've already paid by choosing to support the channel through Patreon. Come and meet the legend that we're doing the podcast with. Hang out, let's have a few beers. And meet some of the staff who you help support. The next one that we're looking to do is Dublin. We've got a United legend lined up, Irish one, and we are trying to get some locations nailed down in Dublin. Probably looking around about February for that. And the same crack, we're probably going to come over, play 5-a-side in the afternoon, have the live podcast in the evening, and then hang out on a few beers with the Irish legend. And I would like to do that all over the fucking world. We asked all the Patreon members, where are you located? And it come back that there's a lot on the East Coast of America, a lot on the West Coast of America, and Australia seems to be the big points. And then there's a smattering all over Europe as well, like a couple in Spain, Norway, just fucking everywhere, Germany, Italy. So there's a lot of mad locations, and I would love to be able to go to those locations and do something live with you guys if you can't make it. But like I said, the stuff like the live podcast, we're going to record that and it will go up on the Patreon channel, and it won't go out on YouTube. So that's, again, another little treat and another little thank you. And there's all sorts of stuff going forward that we're planning. And all the Patreons, they all know it's a complete open door. There's loads of them that have been through and hung out and come down and had a beer and just chilled out with us for the day and met some of the staff and all that lot. It's a really good community that we're building. Couple of maniacs in there, because like every community, we've got fucking maniacs. But there's a big match day chat in there. There's a Facebook group. There's all sorts of stuff going on. It's a cracking little community. The link is in the description. If you never thought about it before, just click the link and have a read about what you get, and then make your own mind up whether you think it's worth having or not. Let's have a look at some of the more questions. The writing's on the wall. He will leave in January or the summer. Oh, I think he's talking about Pogba. What if he comes back in December to prove his fitness and then leaves? I do wonder. At this point, he has to go. I don't see the debate. Sure, he is good, but he doesn't want to be here. Let's move on. Is that very similar to what we saw with Lukaku? It might be. Has McTominay done more in this season for United than Pogba done in all of last season? He scored a lot of goals, Pogba, last season. A lot of penalties, but he scored a lot of goals. I don't know. But I think it's pleasing. If Pogba played like McTominay and put in that level of performance, you'd still not be happy. Because you expect more from Paul Pogba than you expect from McTominay. The levels are always a slightly different expectation. When Brandon Williams made his debut and he didn't do anything wrong, everyone was like, that was great, that's what we want to see. It wasn't a great performance. It was a great performance for a young lad making his debut. The expectations level change constantly. If Mason Greenwood comes on as a game like Rashford, people call it a good game. If Rashford had a game like Greenwood's had, maybe one chance that he didn't put away, showing a little bit of promise, people see their ass. Expectations levels change with time as it goes on. Like, if Marcus come in and just did what he did on his debut, aside from the goals, people will probably have a bit of a problem with that. So I think McTominay's, if he puts in this level of performance next year, our expectation might have shifted again for him. Harry says, honestly, I think most fans would cash in on Pogba than keep him longer. Mo says the Pogba hate is idiotic. I'm not sure it's hate. I don't hate the guy. But I see a future without him for definitely. He doesn't want to play for the club, says Zohib. McTominay and Pereira link up in the midfield. Who will come in January? I don't know if we'll sign anybody at the moment just yet. If I do get anything, obviously the Patreon group do get the first dibs on that. The news about Wan-Bissaka came in March. That's how early we got that last year. So I'm hoping we get something this year, and I'll be able to stick it in there as soon as it comes in. The January transfer window, I do think we'll sign someone. I have no idea who that will be, but I do think we will sign somebody. There are still fans hurt with the Madrid comments, undoubtedly. I'd prefer the post-Howson United, to be honest, says Hector. Well, there isn't going to be a post-Howson United, is there? Until I die, mate. So, deal with that. Weird comment. Hey, Steve, Marcus from Australia. With all the links to Haaland, where do I think he would fit into our front three, and how likely do I think the signing is? And how do I think we'll line up tomorrow? I've done my starting 11 previously. I think Haaland would probably replace Marshall. As I've said, I think Marshall will probably leave, and that would probably be an improvement for the team, because I think Haaland offers that something different, and obviously always work with him. If he brings him in, he knows how to work with him, so I think that would be an improvement in the team. If he's able to keep what he's done so far going, Christ, we might have a right player on our hands. And as I said on the full-time Devils one earlier, it didn't take long for Mbappe. People are like, oh, is he a one-season wonder? No, maybe. Maybe we should take a risk, though, at 60 million, which is a lot of money, but it's not the, 180 million that Mbappe went for. Maybe it's a worthwhile risk at the moment. Righty, I'm going to jive, but thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to come and check out Stretford Paddock, where I'll be doing the watch-along with the guys tomorrow. Kickoff is at 12:30. We'll be live from about 12:15. If you want something to go along with during the match, I can't recommend it enough. I mean, I know I'm on it, but it's a genuinely good bit of content. We don't really watch the match. We just talk about everything else that's going on. And it seems to get quite a good response. So come and join us tomorrow over on Stretford Paddock, around about 12:15 kickoff. Be the usual crew that is on there with me. Make sure to subscribe and just go and click the link in the description and check out the Patreon group. If you've never heard of it before, make your own mind up after you've clicked the link and read all of the benefits and stuff like that, the extra content that you get. But thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Laters.